Hello and welcome to my Godot 2D tutorial. This one's going to be about movement. So I've got a 2D project here, and it was a project with a Node 2D in it. And what I'm going to start off by doing is creating the character. So I'm going to add a child node here by clicking on the node, right clicking, and then click add child node. And the first thing we want is a character body 2D. So Godot is quite different to Unity as it works based on nodes. Each node has certain properties it adds. It's kind of instead of like how Unity uses the like properties like the rigid bodies and the colliders and stuff. Godot uses like nodes instead. So on this character body, as you see, it wants me to add a collision shape, which is basically a 2D collider, like a box collider or something. So what I can do is I can add a child node of the character body, and we can type in collision shape 2D, and we can set the shape as a square. It doesn't really matter, but I'm going to set it as square. What we'll also want to do, it's not required for the character body 2D, but I want to also add a child, and I want to make it a sprite 2D. And then I'm going to use the preset icon that it gives us with the Godot logo on it. I'm going to set that as the sprite. If you have like a custom sprite, you can put that in here as well. It doesn't really matter. That's all I'm going to use. And what I'm going to do, I'm also going to scale this, because as you see, the collision shape is slightly small. So you can either scale the collision shape up or scale the logo down. I'm scaling the logo down. Yeah. So now it should fit inside the collision shape. To change the collision shape, you can click on the collision shape itself and change it through there, like using the red dots. And same for the sprite 2D, click on it. If you've imported your own sprite and you're having problems with it looking almost a little blurry, I think it's in texture. If you change the filter to nearest, it should, as you see, mine's a little blurry, now it looks clearer. I'm not sure why that's the thing, or it doesn't default to this, but yeah, maybe it means something else for like other renderers, so that's the default. I'm not entirely sure, but anyway, what we want to do, just to make it easier to edit the player, we're going to do what in Unity is the prefabs. This is what it seems like to me anyway, from using Godot. But what you can do is if you click on the character body 2D and then right click to bring up this menu again, there should be an option to save branch as scene. So what this does is it should pull up this menu to save a new scene, and if you can name it whatever you want. So I'm going to name mine player, or you can save it as default if you want, it doesn't really matter. And then I'm going to click save, and it should, as you see, there should be no like drop down menu or anything. It should all be saved in this one character body 2D. And down here you used to see whatever you named it as, and then .tscn. That is the new scene. So if you either double click that, or if you click this logo here, it should open up the new scene that you have, and it should just have all the different objects inside it. So like I said, this is like having a prefab in Unity. So you can edit everything in here, and however many of these you have, it should I can give an example. If I copy and paste this and make it its own separate thing. So for an example, if I go in here and you see I've deleted in the scene, I've deleted the sprite like texture, I've removed it from here. If I now save this scene, go back in here, they both should have the thing removed. So if I move one of these, see, look, they both had the thing removed. And then if I go back in here and I add the icon back in, there we go, and then save it again, they both will have it back. So I'm going to delete the other one because we only need one for this. You can also, it doesn't matter what the texture, you can also, if you go into visibility and modulate, I think it's this, you can change the color, or like change the like filter, I guess is what it is. So it changes sort of it puts like a color overlay on it, like it similar to Unity. If you have your own texture and you change the color, it'll do the same thing. But yeah, you can also do that in here in case you want a different color to make it nice to see. But I'm going to keep mine the default. So now what we want to do is we want to go here and we want to click this button up here. This attaches a script to the selected node. So if you select the character body 2D, which should be our player, you can also rename by, if you double click it, you can rename it to player if that makes it easier for you to see. See, there you go. But yeah, if you click on player and then click on the little like paper with a plus icon up here, it should bring up this attach new script. Yours might look a little bit different. It might be asking you for a template. So it should be this. You can use that if you want, but if you want to code it yourself, if you untick that box, it should give you like a regular sort of like a blank template, and then we can click create. So now I'm going to go down one line, and I'm going to do @export, and then I'm going to put var, and I'm going to put speed, and I'm going to make it equal 400. So this export is basically like making a public variable in Unity. So whatever, if I save this, it wants me to save the scene, right? Okay, so that'll be just, I'm gonna save the scene as main. But yeah, if you save this, and if we go back to 2D and we click on the player, as you see, look, we can see the speed up here. If I then go back to the script, and if I remove @export and I just save it, it disappears from here. So it's basically it makes it a public variable that can be edited in the menu here. So I can like change it to whatever value I like. But I'm going to keep it 400. Then what we're going to do is we're going to create a function, and it's going to be called get input, 2 brackets, and you need to put a colon on the end of this line to actually finish the function. Then click enter, and now what we need to do is we want to create a variable in here, and it's going to be input direction. So yeah, this function up here that we created, this is a custom function, so it's not one that's actually built into Godot. So we're going to use it to code the movement and then call it later in a different function. This here is also like just a variable we're calling, and what we want to do is make it equal to. We want it to make it equal to input dot get vector, and then we want it to make it equal to a few different things. So first we want it to be left. We then want to input right. We then want up, and then if we put down, this should be finished. But if you notice these, when you were typing them, it didn't have an autofill for it. That's because we have to set the inputs ourselves. So if we go to project settings, input map, you should see it's completely empty. What I want to do is we want to add new action. So I want up, click enter, or you can click that here. It should create a new action here. Dead zone. So if you click the plus here, it should ask for the what input you want to put. So if I just type W on my keyboard, it should come up with W or W physical or W Unicode. So basically the key input of W that you pushed will be set to up. I click OK, and I can also add a second one to this, and I can press the up arrow key, and it will do the same thing. So look, it registers what key you pressed, and then we click OK, and it sets them both here. So if you do that for up, down, left, and right, the code should register what those mean when the key is pressed. Okay, see, now I've added in all the inputs. I can close this, we won't need any more, and we can continue doing what we're doing. So what we want to do now is we want to go down the line, and we want velocity to equal the new input we just created, so input direction, and we want to times that by speed. See, now it should be finished. So now that we've done that, we need to actually make it so it calls this function to work in our game. So what we want to do is we want function, and we want physics process delta. So basically, from what I understand, this is almost like an update or fixed update function. So if I now press enter, and we can call our get input function, and we can also call this other function which is move and slide. So this basically is what needed to register different movements. Well, that's how I understand. A lot of this stuff I've been reading from the Godot documentation or different websites and things. So I'll maybe put a link to the Godot documentation if you're interested in the description, because it's quite helpful. But yeah, so once you've done all this, if you just Control S and save it, we can then go back to 2D, and you can either click this thing up here to run the scene, or if you see it says F6 can also run the current scene. So F6, it should come up, but we can't see our player. That's because what we need to do is we need to add a child node, a camera, 2D, and now if I hit F6, we should be able to see the player, but we can't tell if it's moving because the camera's moving with it. So I'm gonna take the camera off the player. So now it's two separate things. So I save, and actually I should check where the camera is compared to the player. Okay, it's right in the middle. I'm also gonna scale the player up, I think, so it's easier to see. So if I go transform, and you see scale here, I'm gonna make it twice as big. You only need to change one of the values. There's a setting which you see here, it locks them together, so when you change one value, it will change the other to the same thing. I think you can just click it and it should unlock them, so you can have them if you want to make it really long or really skinny compared to the other value, you can, but I'm just going to keep them locked because I don't want to do anything like that. Then if I'm going to also create, like I said, I want to see whether the thing's actually moving. Oh no, so I moved the camera, that's how I've done that. Okay, cool. If you don't want to move the camera off the player and you want to keep it on the player like this and still want to see if it's moving, what you can do is you can add a child node, and what you can do is, I think it's called a background. No, it's not. There is a color rect, that's it. So if you click on this, it just creates a random colored shape. And then if I find if I go here, and then if we move this bar on the side, the saturation, we can set the color if we want. So I make it pink or something, and then I can scale it using the dots. And then if I move it to the top of the node 2D, the player should be in front of it. So now if I hit F6, and if I move the camera off, player should move but the camera won't. And then if I close this and I put the camera on the player, hit F6, you should see the camera move and the player move all at once, and you have all the four directions. So there you go. That's the tutorial. If you like this, please subscribe, and if you want to see more, please leave a comment of what maybe different things I can try and learn to show you, because from what I've noticed, there's not many Godot tutorials out there, or from what I could find, actual video tutorials. So if you do like video tutorials, then yeah, leave a comment of what you want to see, and I'll try and learn it to show you guys in the future. So yeah, thank you for watching.